hello everyone. Welcome to tonight's Awareness Ascending podcast. This will be the final podcast for the Awareness Ascending program, and I'll try to make it very special for everyone. Before we move into the presentation for tonight, I'd like to guide everyone in a short meditation. So we can all begin by closing our eyes. We can bring our awareness down to the center of our chest and feel our hearts. Notice the feeling of your heart. Notice this soft, sacred energy. Notice this feeling of presence. Notice this quality of peace. Feel your heart relaxing into the feeling, simply watching it, simply being present. Always shining within you is the creative power of life. We feel this sacred energy shining from our hearts. We feel this as the energy of life. Feel your spiritual heart appreciating this quality. Surrendering into this sacred vibration, allowing yourself to become it. You are the love and the light. You are the spiritual self. You are the shining expression of consciousness. Feel your heart. Connect with your depth. Be here, relaxed and surrendered. Always shining within you is this radiant heart light. It feels like peace and love. It feels like wisdom. Existing beyond your human story is the wisdom of yourself. Feel this place, relaxing into it, allowing it to grow, allowing it to build, allowing it to fill your present moment. You are the shining love. You are the sacred radiance. Feel your heart. Be as your greater self. Be here in oneness with life. Thank you, everyone, for joining together as we centered within our hearts and built a sacred connection. So this is our final gathering for the Awareness Ascending podcast. And before we began today, I was thinking back to when we all first met here, back in January of this year. Now, in my own presentation, I brought through a message from the higher self that guided us into a direct experience of our own deeper consciousness. And the higher self guided us to live from this place as best as we can. And in doing so, we would feel more connected to our original intelligence, and we'd also become more aligned with our purpose. So I was thinking about this before I began today, and I'd like to connect this final meeting into that same theme. It seems like in our human lives, we're always trying to find meaning in our experience. There's so many things happening. We're offered so many different creative opportunities, and we're always trying to find something significant. We're looking for our soul's path. We're looking for meaning. And sometimes this can be a mystery. Sometimes it can be confusing. So I'd like to begin tonight's presentation just by sharing a little information about my own journey and what I've learned along my spiritual path. I've been consciously on my spiritual journey for over 20 years, and I think that some things that I share will be of value to you, as well as just being enjoyable to listen to. So when I first began my journey, my purpose was really, really specific. At first, when I first learned about other dimensions and meditation, these higher states of consciousness, I just wanted to understand more. It felt like this information had a value to it that I hadn't found elsewhere in my life. And I feel that this is something important that we all can recognize because it helps us to guide our own personal journey. It helps us connect with our purpose. So sometimes in our lives, we're offered so many different things. So when I was 18, I had to think about my future and a career and income and possibly choices that would lead to a family. I had to think of all these different things, but when I first learned about spirituality, it meant something deeper than everything else. And I felt this knowing, this significance, and that was enough to establish me on my path. Now, for myself, that original desire has transformed itself many times over during my many years. And so first it was wanting to experience more of reality, particularly non-physical states. That captured my mind and it felt significant. For 20 years or 18 years at the time, I knew a lot about the physical world, but I also knew there was something more significant to my reality, and this information sparked that interest. So I pursued it regularly. Now, as I pursued more information, my purpose quickly changed. Instead of just wanting to understand more and experience more of non-physicality, my purpose then became how to get there. So it was very hands-on and very practical. So as I learned more, I then started practicing meditation because my understanding at the time was that meditation would allow me to silence my mind and that this would completely transform my reality. When I was young, I already had great knowledge about human psychology. I was already just naturally attuned to understanding how people thought and being very interested in that. So for me, silencing my mind made a lot of sense. So once I found a method, then practicing the method became my purpose. I became steered away from just wanting non-physical experiences and moved into a greater state of wanting more truth or a more direct, unfiltered experience of my personal reality. Now that stayed with me for a long, long time, for many, many years. And then that eventually transformed itself as well. So I achieved greater states of inner silence and I appreciate it. I really, really enjoyed it. But more happened in my life as I started to connect more and have more experiences. And as I went on this journey, my purpose continued to expand into different areas of my life where I began living more fully in a state of feeling connected to life. So when I first began a long time ago, my purpose was more about a pursuit. I'd say first it was just an interest. And my purpose was to learn something, to experience something new. And then my purpose became a creative process, what I wanted to build in my life. But then over the years, it changed into just a desire to experience more oneness with all forms of life. So an experience to just expand into every present moment in a fuller way. And that really takes me up till today. So as someone looks at my life, they might say, well, Lincoln, your purpose was to be a higher self channel, or your purpose was to meet certain people, to have certain experiences in your life. But to me, all of that just happened while I was living my purpose. My greater purpose was really coming into a state of happiness as I removed the filters between myself and the interaction that I was having. So it was very much a type of samadhi experience that just naturally arose as what felt like the most important part of my life was experiencing more unity. Now, for myself, I learned about samadhi a long, long time ago. When I was 18 or 19 years old, I started studying, Patanjali's Yoga Sutras and the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, and it talked about samadhi. It talked about how to get there and the significance of samadhi, but that didn't really interest me. Unity as a concept didn't interest me at all when I was younger. They said it was this great state and we should all strive for it, but it really wasn't something that I felt attracted to. I wanted other dimensions and I wanted to create inner silence. But then naturally, it just automatically transformed into a more direct experience of life, which had those unity consciousness qualities. It just became more of a samadhi-based experience. But by that point, my purpose was no longer being intellectually pursued. So in the beginning, it was knowledge and information about other states of reality. Then it became practical. So these parts were very much human mind led. But then it evolved and it became more of an intuitive experience or just a fully lived experience. So I'm sharing this with you now to help illustrate how our purpose can change and grow, because life is a journey. And as we trust that which we feel guided to, we move into the experiences that help us to grow and evolve. And then as we're growing and evolving, not only are we having new experiences of significance, but we're changing ourselves and we're changing how we look at life. So my experience is the purpose is not a fixed thing, but maybe in the beginning of our spiritual journey, we're looking for a fixed idea. Like my purpose is to be a channel, or my purpose is to save the world or heal the world. My purpose is to get enlightened. And it's very much an intellectually driven pursuit. That's how it was for me. I wanted to learn about other dimensions. I wanted to go to other dimensions of reality and perceive energy bodies and all the non-physical things. And it was very much my intellect guiding that process. Right. So I think that's the way it starts for a lot of us, because we're conditioned to live life from our intellect. We make all of our choices based upon what we think will happen and what we think is best for us. But as you know, when you go on your journey, things are going to change and you're going to change. You're going to transform. So for anyone trying to find their purpose, I think what's best is just trust what you feel is most significant to you. The meaning that you feel towards something is a very strong indicator that this is worthwhile pursuing. It might not be your final goal along your life journey. It may not be your final purpose, but it is the one that's appearing right now. So I would recommend you pursue it. Now, for myself, I had a very clear understanding, right? So for me, I wasn't really caught up in seeking happiness or getting out of suffering. So I wasn't chasing after many different intellectual ideas about what I thought would give me happiness, right? Some people might think, oh, my purpose is to learn tarot cards. And then their mind changes because their mind's a little scattered or ungrounded. They think, oh no, my purpose now is working with crystals. And then after a few weeks, maybe of exploring that, then the mind jumps to something else. Oh, my purpose is now to, do this or do that, or start a family or do something. So for myself, I didn't really have a mind that jumped around a lot. And I think that sometimes that can be a little confusing. So when I say follow that which feels significant, that which feels important, I'm not talking about like the monkey mind that jumps around just trying to grab on to any new thing that comes across its path, but instead go within and really feel what drives you, what motivates you. What do you want to explore in life? What feels significant to you? And I promise you, if you do that and you learn that language of honoring your heart's desire, it's going to take you on a journey and you're going to change and grow. And your purpose is going to evolve. At least that's how it's been for me. Now, sometimes it can be a little challenging to find our purpose, like I said, because our mind's so busy. So if that's something that you're struggling with, if you notice that your mind latches onto an idea and then gets bored of that idea and then chooses another idea to latch onto it, right? And then I would recommend that you'd work on quieting down your mind and just practicing being present with your life a little more. Oftentimes, the problems in our life have a way of working themselves out when we can be present with our problems, when we can learn to feel the emotions that are in those situations, and when we can live from our heart, just trying to participate in a sincere way. Most of our problems get resolved just by being more present in an experience, not just staying as a witness, but really being more connected into the experience. Because often our challenges are inviting us to grow in knowledge or to grow in maturity, emotional maturity, or to grow into a more confident expression of ourselves. The challenges in our life are happening because we want to grow, we want to evolve, we want to feel more connected. So witnessing isn't enough. We really want to try to be present as a participant. So if your mind's jumping around a lot, try to be more present, practice being in awareness. It feels like a long time ago, a few months ago, I taught you how to do the Ujjayi breath. I taught you how to meditate and how to use your breath to quiet down your mind. And so this is something of value as well that you can use to help yourself get more clarity on understanding your purpose. And so as we move forward in our lives, once we're on this spiritual path, it's also valuable to understand that you're not here to be a fixed idea. You're here to go on a journey of awakening. So your interests are going to change. What you feel guided to do with your life or do with your time is going to change. And it's important to value that. And when we notice changes happening in our lives, we don't shame ourselves. We don't think that, oh, I made a mistake or I did something wrong. I'd recommend instead trying to step into your life in a loving embrace, realizing that when you feel something guiding you, it is right at that time. And as you pursue that desire, your life's going to change. And as your life changes, your desire is going to change. And so it's not a mistake. Anything from the past is not a mistake. It's just leading you into the next experience. And for myself, like I shared, ultimately, it becomes less about things to do and more about a connection to create. It's more about experiencing myself without filters, without blocks, without resistance, more connected, more open, more free, more celebrative. And as I experience more of this in my life, I experience also more unity between the entire creative process. So I'm less like an individual personal self and I'm more like a process that the whole universe is doing. Now, of course, I still experience myself through this lens of perception, like I'm one vantage point expressing out into the universe. So I look out, I listen out, I feel out into the universe from this position. But what I'm feeling and what I'm noticing, and also what I'm expressing through myself, is an undivided flow of creative energy that involves everything. So the more I live in this way of connection, having a quiet mind, having quiet emotions, the more I realize I'm in this fluid state of expression. And some would say, like I often refer to it as feeling like I'm channeling, right? So my human analytical thought process is turned off and I'm speaking or I'm moving or I'm acting, and it's like there's a creative dance of energy and a dance of intelligence happening with me as I exist in the present moment and as I express myself and do what it is that I do in my life. So the more I awaken, the more of a participant I become, but the way participation happens definitely is different than that intellect-driven participation that I remember about 20 years ago when I first began my spiritual path. So be open to change. I think that's very important. Never shame ourselves. We're always doing the best we can do. In every moment, we're having new experiences. Therefore, we're learning more. As we allow ourselves to go on this journey of life, we allow learning and growth and integration to happen. And then that's what gives us these greater experiences, taking us towards unity. So be gentle on yourself, be loving and caring and kind to yourself. Never shame yourself. If you notice you've done something wrong and you feel ashamed of that action, that's okay. That's a natural process of learning. If you make a mistake, right, you're going to feel some regret, you're going to feel some shame, because that's your mind guiding you for a better choice next time. So shame is a natural, healthy emotion when we experience it correctly. But we shouldn't shame ourselves. We shouldn't form an identity of shame about ourselves, thinking I'm a bad person. Right? Because when you shame yourself, you kind of get stuck with that label and stuck with that emotion. And so I think that as we go through life, all the emotional energies are helping us. Right? How can we just allow the flow, allow this creative relationship as we go forward? Now, a big part of what I do, which a lot of people would call my purpose, is being a channel for the higher self. The way that I got here was really pursuing that path of inner silence. That was my obsession. That was the one thing I wanted more than anything else, because I learned from these great Buddhist teachers and Taoist teachers and ancient masters that the mind creates its own reality. The mind formulates a structured reality of who I am as an identity, but it also formulates the reality of what I'm perceiving in this deeper level. So my mind creates my reality, and I really wanted to understand how I could undo any type of expression through my mind that would be getting in my way from a more direct experience and also a more enlightened experience. So through my path of silencing my inner mind or my human mind, that's how I noticed that there was this higher intelligence also being present. And at first I was very resistant to it because I didn't want any thoughts. That's what the books taught me. Like no mind, no thoughts, none of this. But I noticed that this higher mind automatically appeared, and it wasn't the same as my personal mind. Now, fast forward, over 2 decades, my higher self doesn't interrupt what happens in my life. It doesn't give me instructions. It doesn't have conversations with me. It doesn't tell me what to do. Right? My higher self is an aspect of my intelligence that is active within me, but it doesn't speak through me through thoughts anymore. Now, when I channel for people, of course, it does then. It comes right through my voice. It doesn't speak in my head anymore. But it's really something that gets integrated into a more lived state, a lived experience. But I didn't know this at first. I didn't have that evolved experience at first. So for me, just hearing my own thoughts converse with a higher intelligence, it felt like it was something that I didn't want, because I was taught that I wanted silence, and that's what I was choosing. But I trusted the process, right? I didn't think I was doing it. I watched myself. I'm not thinking this. I'm not trying to do it. It's an intelligence being given to me. So I watched myself. I watched how it happened, and I just let it happen. I just accepted it. So as this higher intelligence started communicating through me, I just allowed it. And then it naturally evolved and naturally grew. And yes, channeling the higher self for people is a part of my life purpose. And it's something that appeared naturally and developed naturally. I didn't really have to cultivate it, but I had to participate with it. So I felt the calling to help people and to help people with channeling, because I realized that I didn't want to teach from my own mind or give people guidance from my own past conditioning. I knew there was a greater way. And as I observed the higher self at work within myself for many years before I started working with others, I saw that it gave me access to a state of universal wisdom. So again, with you and living through your life purpose, things are going to evolve and change. And when we're open to that, we don't know where it's going to take us. But if we're living heart-centered and trusting ourselves, I'll guarantee you it's going to take you to a far better place. right? And you can trust that experience as you're having it. So for me, it led me into experiences that I never read about before in books. It led me to places in my own life that I never imagined I would have. Right? The amount of happiness I feel now far outweighs any level of happiness I felt before in my life. I've had non-physical experiences that sometimes I've read about before, or I've had ones I never even read about. I didn't even know were possible. And all of these things happened organically. They happened naturally without me doing practices or methods to try to create them, other than just living with inner silence and being present and connected into my life. So when we go on this journey, if we're aligned within ourselves, new experiences are going to be given to us, and these experiences are going to serve our higher good. They're going to have this sort of alignment in our life that supports us in a way that feels divinely inspired or guided from some higher universal state. In our lives, sometimes our intellect thinks I have to do everything, I have to create everything, and that really hasn't been my journey. I've tried to have a balance between applying myself and also allowing things, because I realize both are part of life. So I think, again, discovering your purpose and continuing on your path requires this sort of harmony with things. There's a time to speak, there's a time to listen, there's a time to take a step forward, there's a time to stand still. So in life, there's all these rhythms, there's all these movements of change. And I think as we walk our path, we learn how to harmonize with those movements. And one of the biggest guidance points for me was, how does it feel? Right? What's that feeling of knowing when something is happening? And I've had amazing surprises in meditation and just in my normal life. I've had these amazing experiences happen. And the way I understand it myself is the universe wanted me to have these experiences. The universe wanted to give me these experiences because they were going to benefit me in some way. They were important with shaping my life journey. So a soul's path, a soul's purpose is not just something we guide with our own intellect. It's something that the universe performs with us. The universe brings us experiences, sometimes ones we want, sometimes we've never heard of, but all the experiences the universe brings us are going to be serving our higher good. So for me, I feel it's very important that we learn how to align with life and trust that inner knowing, because that's going to show us when we're living in alignment. We don't always have to control everything from our intellect. Following our heart is something that we feel and know. It's not something that our mind necessarily decides. Being present and connected with life is not something that your intellect has to try to control to produce. It's more something based upon awareness and surrender and trust. So as we evolve and awaken more in our lives, we're actually stepping into fuller ways to live that use different parts of our personal self that we may not be accustomed to. Right? How can I be in consciousness? How's that a creative expression? Just like using my intellect is a creative expression, just like doing a breathing practice or a meditation practice is a creative expression. So along this journey, I feel that we're taught how to expand into all these different functions of ourself, to learn how they participate in different experiences. Because we're a multidimensional being and our personalities are really dynamic. There's an important role for every emotion in ourselves. There's an important purpose for every part of our life. So how can we open up to honoring every emotional feeling? How can we open up to honoring physical expression? Right? There's nothing wrong with the desire to eat food or desire to sleep, a desire to move. There's nothing wrong with a desire to hear beautiful sounds or look at beautiful objects. There's nothing wrong with sexuality. We have to learn how to allow all of these forms of physical expression because they're a part of our life experience, and they also have important pieces in our soul's journey, in our life purpose. Naturally, as we awaken to deeper parts of ourself, how we experience our food choices, how we experience our sensory perception, how we experience sexuality especially, they all change. They become higher qualities of experience because we're tapped into higher understanding within ourselves. So I think on our soul's journey, finding our purpose, it's like walking a spiraled path. Rather than a straight path, it's more like a corkscrew spiral. So we keep touching into all of these different areas of our life. And that's like the circular movement of a spiral, right? If you think about a spiral, it's taking a circle and a straight line and connecting those two movements together so they happen simultaneously. So a straight line would just ascend from the bottom up, right? That's the masculine movement, right? A single direction of ascension up from the bottom, right? A straight line, that's male. And the female is a circle, right? So what happens when you put a straight line and a circle together, right? It creates a spiral, right? Right? So if you look at the spiral's movement, again, it's vertical, but it's also horizontal. And if you tie the two together, you have that diagonal spiral movement. So I feel that in life, we're naturally doing this feminine direction in which we're expanding into all areas of our experience. So the feminine parts of ourselves want to reach out and connect with life around us. They want to explore new things. They want to feel all these experiences. They want to touch into all these physical types of interactions. And then the masculine part of us is goal-oriented. It wants to pursue something. It has a goal. It has a direction that it's traveling. So I feel that our soul's path really requires a balance of both the male and female aspects of our psyche. We want to allow ourselves to expand into more places in life. We want to give ourselves the freedom to feel all the emotions. I don't think there's any bad emotions. I think that because of our understanding, we don't necessarily work with the emotions in the wisest ways, and we don't always create appropriate emotions or the best emotions in certain situations. But the emotions themselves are like pieces of language. They all have their purpose. Right? If you're learning how to sell something, for example, if you're working as a salesperson, you need to learn how to use language to convince the buyer to purchase from you. Right? Okay, so you're using language towards a strategy to reach a desired outcome. It's like that with our emotional feelings. We want to learn how to use our emotions to reach a desired outcome. So we have to use specific emotions in specific situations. So if you're trying to do something new, you don't want to rely on fear and express from a place of fear, because fear is restraint. Fear is holding you back. If you're doing something new and you feel afraid, you're going to hold your expression and you're not going to move towards your goal. So sometimes people really, really want something, but they're afraid because it's new. And they choose to stay in that fear. They communicate with the emotion of fear, but then they don't act and they miss the opportunity. So we don't want to speak with fear. We don't want to feel and express and create from fear in that situation. If we know this is something what I want and it's new, we really want to learn how to consciously generate a different feeling, such as enthusiasm or even confidence. Right? When we speak with the emotion of confidence, now we inspire action. We inspire interaction between ourselves and the world, and that takes us towards our goal. So it's like that trying to sell something. You have to know what to say and when to say it. In your human journey, you have to know what to feel and when to feel it. So sometimes in our lives, we shame certain emotions, and that distorts that feminine circular aspect of ourselves that needs to be able to expand and embrace everything. Right? That feminine says, no, there is a purpose for fear. Fear is not a bad thing. In certain situations, fear doesn't help me have the experience I want to have. But in other situations, it does. If I see a lion standing outside my front door, I'm going to become afraid, and that's going to keep me inside my house. That's going to restrain me, hold me back from opening up that door and going out to see that lion. And so fear keeps me alive in a situation like that. But perhaps outside my door is a person that I really love, and I want to meet them. I want to have a conversation with them, but I'm afraid. That fear is going to keep me inside of my house, prevent me from opening my door, but then I'm going to miss that opportunity to interact with the person I love. So fear in different situations helps or hinders the outcome that we want to experience. So part of this journey, I feel, in order to really pursue your spiritual path, is to be open to every feeling, to any type of action, to any experience, and to stop putting these really rigid labels on things that this is bad or wrong, or I can't feel it, or I can't do that, or that's not right. There's always a purpose. There's always a use, a practical use. There's always a creative role that an emotion will serve. And if we can learn how to consciously work with our emotions in an intelligent way, we then can have the outcomes that we want. We can progress more fully. So part of this is the circular movement. That's that feminine movement, expanding into everything, embracing everything. It's a feeling of unconditional love for everything. And then that masculine movement, that direction, that purpose, that orientation, that pursuit of a goal and an outcome. And we tie the two together, we then allow ourselves to go after what we desire. And while we're pursuing it, to be open to every possibility and to be open to this process of interaction. Sometimes in life, we want certain things, but we don't allow ourselves to interact. We're very masculine, we're very driven, but we don't let ourselves express and expand. Therefore, we don't let ourselves come into those experiences that we want. As we go on this journey of creating, remember, it's like a spiral. What we're going to notice is that my understanding of emotions matures. My understanding in my mind matures. My intellect develops. My intelligence grows. My intuition, which is a higher part of my intelligence, that'll also awaken. My emotional IQ, or EQ as they call it, my emotional intelligence, that'll get improved. So it's a spiral of evolution. I'm not just staying in a circle, doing the same emotional patterns, repeating the same type of thinking process, making the same decisions. I'm not staying stagnant as I express. I'm evolving. So as I express, I keep learning, I keep spiraling into higher states. And so now my emotions become healthier. My emotions also become stronger and richer and more developed. And my understanding about who I am and how to create, that also grows. So as we identify what we want, right, that's the purpose or the object, then we have to follow this path. And it does require this sort of male-female balance inside of our psyche. And if we do this, we're going to be able to progress with great ease because we're giving ourselves direction. And at the same time, we're giving ourselves freedom. The freedom is feminine. It's expanding in all directions. It's a circle that grows. And then the purpose, the goal, the direction, that's that straight line. So if we tie all of this together, right, we understand that my desire changes, my purpose evolves, I change, I evolve. I understand how creation works. I'm becoming a greater creator. Now, all the things I've talked about are all relative to the forms we're experiencing. And then we are this greater state of consciousness that's creating this journey, that's creating with these forms. So in our first meeting together back in January, you were guided how to feel yourself as this expanded consciousness. Notice its qualities. Feel like you're being an open, radiant space and a deeper intelligence. And then you were taught how to try to live from this state of expansion. So everything I talked about is how we work with the forms. And if we work with the forms from this state of expansion, we'll have even more success as compared to being in the forms. Because it's very easy to struggle with your emotions because you think, I have to feel this way. I'm right for feeling this way. Right? The human thoughts, the human ego structure, it often defends itself. So when we're locked into that ego, we get defensive, right? We think, how dare you disagree with me? Or how dare you don't give me what I want? Or life is unfair because it doesn't give me what I want. So we become identified, we become contracted, and then we hold on to these limited structures. And that's what keeps us just spinning in a circle. Right? Not spiraling up, but just spinning in a circle. We're identified with the structure. We're identified with our patterns and we defend them. They're right. And how dare you? When we learn to experience ourselves as a deeper, more expanded consciousness, then we understand the human mind-body structure is something that we create with. It's not who I am, it's something I create with. That gives us the freedom and flexibility to change our thoughts, emotions, and actions. Your body is something you move. Your emotions are something you express with. Your thoughts are a way to process your experience and develop your understanding. Your words are how you communicate with the minds of others. These are all forms of expression. These are all tools. They're structures that our consciousness reshapes to take us on this creative journey. So I want to give my body a higher vibration of happiness. And I learn how to use my body, my emotions, and my mind to give it that greater happiness. And I'm the creator of this. I get to take my body on that journey. I get to work with my mind and work with my feelings, understanding them, and also understanding myself as a creator. So in this human experience, it's very important that we find ourselves as the deeper consciousness and practice being that deeper consciousness. So the way it was taught to you is feel your heart, but also feel the space filling the present moment. So again, there's two qualities to this experience, right? Feel your heart center and feel the expanded space. And then you relax into this combined state. And as you do this, you're bringing together space and form, or emptiness and form. You're bringing together an experience of yourself that's greater than the body with the body's existence. So you're the container holding the forms when you practice this way. You're also feeling yourself as a creative intelligence and energy that expresses into the forms that you're perceiving. So while we focus ourselves from being this deeper state of consciousness, we allow ourselves to create the journey more effectively. So all of this ties together. Right? I know I touched on a lot of different areas as I was speaking, but all this ties together to really allow us to identify our path and to cooperate with the creative process that becomes our soul's journey. And your purpose is really going to be defined by whatever's fulfilling you with the greatest happiness right now. And I think that's going to change. I think how the happiness appears as the forms is going to change. So happiness might be falling in love and building a relationship. But then as the relationship grows and my life continues, happiness is then raising children. Maybe happiness at the beginning of a career is knowing I can do it. Maybe my purpose is to believe in myself because I never could do that before. But then after I achieve that, maybe my purpose is then to help a whole lot of people. Right? I've stepped into myself as a creator. I'm building something wonderful. And now my purpose is helping as many people as possible. So there's a process, there's a journey that we participate in that grows. So I don't think it would benefit us to make our purpose a fixed idea. And sometimes I think we're conditioned to believe that's it. And someone will say, your purpose is enlightenment, or your purpose is to have a family, or your purpose is to get a career, a successful career. And I think that's a little narrow and that's limited, and that's an intellectual approach. So it's a limited approach. I tried to evolve myself through intellect and emotions and spiritual consciousness. And as I evolved, I saw that my purpose also evolved as well. And so I've talked a lot about this. I tried to bring in some different pieces, talking about my experience with purpose, sharing some insights from my own journey, and then of course also sharing some things that I hope can help you as you discover more of your purpose and what adds the greatest happiness for you. Okay, so now I'll enter into a short channeling for you. I'll let the higher self speak upon this and also bring through anything that it feels is important right now. And then after the channeling, I'll open up the room and we can ask questions, and I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. So while I channel for you, just be in a relaxed state. Allow yourself to be present with any thoughts, any emotions, and any feelings that you have, any energies that you feel. Trust that anything that arises while you're connected to your heart and your higher self is an important part of your journey right now. Be at peace while you trust this experience and allow it to happen. I'll now begin the channeling. Dear one, close your eyes. Feel the center of your chest. Be at peace. Relax into yourself. Relax into the feeling of your heart. Notice the space around your body. Feel this open space. In every moment, dear one, you are emptiness and form. You are the space in which existence appears. You are the container holding life. And you are the shining radiance of life. You are life's creative energy. Feel your heart. This is the origin of your energy. This is the beginning of your expression into form as creative light. And feel the space, the empty open space. This is your awareness that holds reality. Feel your heart, this original energy. Feel the emptiness that surrounds the body. Be here as both together and relax. Relax. You are God. You are the creator of this experience. You hold the dream of life within yourself. Feel your heart shining. Feel the gift of life shining. Your purpose, dear one, is to express yourself. To fulfill your purpose, you must learn to trust what you know, to trust what you feel is right and true, and allow yourself to express from that place. To fulfill your purpose, you have to allow the expression without resisting or blocking yourself. You must learn how to allow your expression while feeling harmonized with the event you are having. All of your worldly experiences are inviting your cooperation. And when you express from your state of truth, you will feel like you are living in alignment. And you will know how it feels. It feels true. It feels right. It feels like you are being yourself. Your purpose, dear one, is to express yourself in the most authentic way. When you notice that you are feeling frustrated or stuck or angry, relax into your heart, clear your mind. Find a better place to express from, a place that feels in alignment with your truth, in alignment with yourself. And if you have difficulty finding that place, then don't express yet. Wait, be patient. Wait until you feel aligned and connected within before you make a choice, before you express an action. Make it your purpose, make it your goal to align to your heart and to express your truth. So when we tell you, dear one, to live your purpose, it's something that we speak of happening in every living moment. Wanting to create from your heart, wanting to be authentic, wanting to feel free and expanded and present here. We watch how we feel because that shows us our alignment. And we learn how to bring ourselves into peace, into happiness. Feel your heart. Feel the open, expanded space. Relax into the present moment, being as yourself. Be aware of this feeling of yourself shining. Discover this happiness and carry it with you. And while you live, dear ones, allow yourselves, give yourselves permission, encourage and support your expression, because you are life's creator and you learn by participating. How the world responds to you teaches you about your creation. How you think, the beliefs that you have, who you believe you are, what you believe about life, these are constantly being reflected to you by how the world responds to you. Give your world your expression. Notice how you feel when you express. What do you observe about your creation? Do you notice peace and happiness? Do you notice a connection to your truth? And then watch how the world responds to you. Is it supporting you? Is it giving you evidence that you are living in alignment? All of this, dear ones, is teaching you who you are. Because the ideas you believe to be true become the experiences you have. You are God. You are God having a personal experience. You are a creator shaping your human journey. What you believe to be true influences your emotions, your words, your choices and actions. The world receives that. It receives the demonstration of your deepest beliefs. And the world responds to your expression. This is you discovering you are God. So by you pursuing your path, by you discovering your purpose, you, dear one, are choosing that which is most important for you to create. The importance motivates you to open up your expression and remove your resistance, to transcend your fear, to align with your truth. The stronger your desire, the more the impetus to align with your expression. The more you desire something, the more you know you have to express without doubt and fear and confusion. The more you know you have to do it with word and action and feeling. So when you honor what you desire most, you encourage your awakening as a creator. When you honor what you desire most, you unblock your expression, you allow your expression into the world, and the world gives you a strong reflection. And now you get to see how you're the creator of your life. That's why, dear one, the channel and ourselves are encouraging you. Allow yourself to express. Do that which feels the most important. That's going to accelerate you on your path of awakening, and that's going to bring you the greatest happiness. As you pursue what you desire most, you remove all of your resistance. You learn in the greatest of speeds because you want it so much. It motivates you. It accelerates change. The whole universe is created by desire. And as you honor your strongest desires, you accelerate time. You accelerate your soul's path, your soul's growth process. If everything is a creation of desire, and change is part of the universe, it's part of creation, then the desire for something new motivates change, and the stronger the desire, the more energy flows from the creative source to accelerate the changes in life to bring us that desired experience. We don't want you to live without desire. In fact, you cannot live without desire. The most you can do is desire to have no desires. And that feels like you're working against reality. That feels like a state of confusion. We want you to look at life and realize, no, everything moves based upon attraction, based upon what it desires. What we choose as experiences is based upon our understanding. The more our wisdom, the higher our desires, but everything is a creation of desire. So how can I align with that? Not fight it, not reject it, but align and cooperate with it. And the way we do is just as we've shared. You let yourself honor who you want to become. You let yourself create the life you wish to have. But this challenges you because then you have to learn new things. You have to take new physical actions you may have never done before. You might have to become more responsible for your emotional feelings. Take responsibility for your life. And you might have to awaken greater perception and greater creative power to come in and change the things you haven't before been able to change. You might have to go to a greater depth in your mind in order to create what you want in your life. And all of these things we're speaking of awaken you as the creator. So by honoring your deepest, your strongest, your most significant desires, you achieve enlightenment. You realize who you are and what this dream of life is. So along your journey, dear ones, overcome your doubts and your fears by letting yourself participate without shame and guilt directed towards yourselves. You're all going to make mistakes because you haven't yet learned. As you learn, you don't make a mistake in that part of your life. But until you learn it, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to go on the journey. So let yourself live, let yourself express, let yourself learn, let yourself grow. We're encouraging you all to open up yourselves to your life. Embrace it. Make the changes that feel aligned with your heart. Live in a way that feels aligned with you. And let yourself go on the journey. Let yourself evolve and awaken to discover yourself as life's creator. You all have guidance in your hearts. You're all here to guide yourselves. Go within your heart. What feels right? What feels true? And try to apply that knowledge as you express yourself in thought, feeling, word, and action. Try to live in this state of alignment. And if you do this, dear ones, if you allow yourself to express and participate centered in your heart, we promise you, you're going to enlighten yourselves. Spiritual enlightenment is not something you do by pushing away the world and sticking wax in your ears. Many have tried it, but that did not give them their outcome. Spiritual enlightenment is realizing the truth of what is, and that requires you to be fully present and to participate in this human reality. There's great value to quieting the mind. We do recommend it every day. Meditate each and every day, but make sure your meditation is focused on you expanding as consciousness in the present moment. Don't make your meditation a practice of isolation and removal. Learn how to be present as the silent intelligence, as the still awareness. And learn to be here fully, allowing whatever is to be here with you. Be the awareness that is liberated while all the forms move and change. Okay, now, dear ones, that is the message we wish to share with you. We hope that you enjoyed the meditation. And at the present moment, we'll invite you to enjoy a conversation with us. So now is your opportunity. If you have questions about anything that was presented today or in previous meetings together, now is your opportunity to ask. So you can raise your digital hand and the channel will select each of you individually. Okay. Does anybody have a question? Okay, Venus, you can ask your question.
Thank you, Lincoln. That was really nice. So in our everyday life, how do we know, or how does it feel to know that you're living your purpose? Because I don't really think every day that I have a purpose. I think just being here would be my purpose. So maybe you can tell me something more. Thank you.
Well, I think the most important way to understand if we're living in alignment with our purpose is we have a feeling of happiness. We feel a type of significance to our life. There's a feeling of connection that feels happy, like I'm being here. So for myself, I do different activities during my day. Some are very normal, very 3D human. Others, of course, are more spiritual aligned, like channeling for people or offering people support and insight. But the quality is the same for myself, regardless of what I'm doing with my body and mind. So for me, there's a feeling of love for life, a feeling of connection with life. Like my life has significance, my life has meaning, my existence is significant. And it's not a significance or a meaning based upon what's happening. It's more of a feeling of presence and connection. So that's how I experience it. But I would say for anyone, and including how I started this, just start with a feeling of happiness and let yourself spend more moments of time being in that energy of happiness. So maybe it feels for you that part of your purpose is cultivating a life that you love. So maybe every day you're thinking that I don't like my body's appearance and I don't like that I'm not flexible enough. I need to lose some weight. And so maybe what feels good for you is pursuing maybe a path of yoga or some sort of health program. And that adds a quality of happiness in your life. That's living your purpose in the way it's appearing in the moment. Now, someone might say, well, isn't that very selfish? I mean, they're just exercising and taking care of their physical health. And don't all these spiritual scriptures say your body's impermanent and you shouldn't be doing anything like that? You shouldn't focus on that. Yeah, there's all these ideas, but I think if the actual experience is, I feel connected, I feel like there's meaning now, I feel joy. I think that's the evidence we're looking for. And even in a practice of yoga or eating well, something like that, you're going to be giving yourself a healthier human relationship. You've created a healthier relationship to yourself. You're nourishing yourself. You're caring about yourself. You're honoring yourself. And if you look at your life, that may have been an energy, like a quality of energy that's been lacking from your life. Maybe one of your earliest wounds is you feel like people don't care about me. And your life doesn't really have any significant meaning because no one really cared about me enough. Well, now you're caring for yourself. You're giving yourself that care that the world couldn't give to you. It doesn't matter where it's coming from. Now there's the frequency of care coming into your reality, and that's going to feel significant. That's going to feel like it has meaning and purpose. And then as you integrate that, because that's what's appearing right now, that very basic form of happiness, as you integrate that, you're going to feel more present, more full, more here, and life's going to grow. And then other areas of your life are going to want to be integrated in. So I think it's very valuable to work with what is appearing and realize if it's happiness that's arising, that's what I want. If it's a feeling in myself that this is important to me and it's going to give me happiness, then that's what I want to be going after. I think far too often we disconnect that question of what's my purpose, what should I be doing, and we make it intellectual, we make it instructional rather than observational. We've all been educated in a type of school system that gives us instruction and asks us to follow the instruction. And oftentimes it's repeat back what I taught you. So we're so indoctrinated to use our mind as a sort of instruction following structure that repeats back what we're given. And we approach spirituality from that same type of Western education. I think that that's not, well, I know because I've studied it, that's not how the Eastern traditions taught. The Western traditions, yeah, just reflect the outside, do what we say, right? It's very obedient, it's very militant, it's very governmental, right? And look at most of the Western religions, they're all governments, right? They're all based upon government structures and rituals and social order and class systems and all of this. It's behavioral social control. Right? If we look at the inner teachings, usually it's not focused on that, it's focused on self-discovery. So often what's missing in ourselves is how to use our mind in another way that adds balance to how we navigate our choices. So instead of just doing what you're told, instead of intellectualizing the process, observe what's happening and then interact with what you're observing. So as you watch yourself, what gives you happiness? Maybe it's not meditating. Maybe you hate meditating. I loved meditating. I did ever since I first started. I really found it amazing. I found it so rewarding. I also wanted the goals that it would bring me. But maybe for you, like you just despise meditation and it's never good when you do it. Maybe that's not part of your path right now, and that's okay. Just because other people have said it's the best teaching or the highest teaching, that doesn't necessarily mean it's right for you at this time. Maybe a better use of your time is to go for a walk or dance to some music that makes you feel happy and free and open. Maybe dancing to some happy music or some beautiful music in some way, maybe that does more for you than meditation does. Maybe that quiets your mind and reduces stress and makes you feel more connected to your life than sitting still does. Then honor that. That's your experience. Trust in it. We're so heavily educated to intellectualize everything and to follow other people's expectations and other people's instructions that we've forgotten how to live as a direct experience and to trust what we're understanding as we experience life. So try to notice what gives me happiness. Where do I feel guided from within myself? Is there some place within me that feels called into expression? Honor it, see where it takes you. That's building a stronger connection to the present moment. That's taking you towards a greater state of samadhi, a greater state of unity. So let yourself participate, notice what's there, choose that which feels the best. And if you make this a new pattern in your life, you might notice that a few weeks or months down the road that you've really changed your life in a way you never thought about. Maybe you're happier now, maybe you're healthier now, maybe new relationships or new physical experiences were drawn into your life. So just by allowing yourself to go after what's important to you, by allowing yourself to pursue happiness right now, you'll find that things begin to shift and change and you're more aligned on your path. So a lot of it's feeling based, honoring happiness, and also trying to access a deeper knowing of what feels connected or of what feels significant. And this might require us to learn a little more about the different layers of our mind, not just using the intellect and the decision-making faculty, but instead learning how to feel our heart and our guidance. Okay, does this help, Venus?
Yes, very much.
Okay.
Thank
Do you have a follow-up question?
Well, I did, but then so many things came to my mind just now. I enjoy meditating. It's the best thing that I've ever found since being with you. Um, I enjoy that. In fact, today I just wanted to stay in that state of being all day, which kind of I felt guilty about, but yes, I love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's real common that we feel guilty for being happy. You know, and meditation is a very selfish thing. You know, we're completely focused on ourselves while we're doing it, but the reward isn't selfish only. The reward helps everybody, right? Because when you're a happier person, then you share happiness with everyone around you. Also, when you meditate, you're generating an energy field and it's palpable. People will feel that. So you're putting an energy field in your local environment, but you're also putting that meditative quality into the whole universe, into the collective human consciousness and the vibration of the whole universe. So in my reality, you can't really separate self from other. The human body and mind are designed to seek the greatest personal happiness. And as we choose higher forms of happiness, they affect the environment more than lower forms of happiness. So as we ascend in wisdom and awakening, our personal happiness is more beneficial to all of life. Okay, so we can learn, right, why do I feel guilty about giving myself pleasure? Like, where did I learn that? And even without needing to identify the origin of it, how is that actually helping my experience right now? Or is it just hindering my experience? So this guilt for being happy, like, why do I feel guilty? And I think it's important that we always examine everything because it's communication. We shouldn't just make a judgment and just throw everything away. We should really examine it to try to find what's really there. So do I feel guilty because I'm avoiding other responsibilities? Maybe I feel guilty because my husband or my wife or my children or my friends want to spend more time with me and I'm choosing meditation over them. Maybe I'm avoiding difficult areas of my life in my marriage or my family or other parts of my life by escaping in meditation. So maybe that resistance to meditating does have some healthy aspects to it that are guiding me to overcome my resistance or my limited beliefs and improve upon other areas of my life. So maybe the guilt is intelligent. Maybe I know that I'm doing things. I know that mixed in with meditation are other things that I shouldn't be doing or that I want to change. Other times, the guilt has nothing to do with our experience in our life. It's just a learned pattern that I just don't let myself do what I want to do. And it doesn't relate to anything else we really notice going on. Then we can trace back our lifetime and we can see where the conditioning began, most likely. You don't need to find the source of your conditioning. You really don't. All you need to do is identify the pattern and then ask yourself, does this serve my highest good? Is this a pattern that's going to bring me happiness? So if we examine that guilt, for example, we can look, is that guilt trying to show me some area of my life I should look at and integrate? And if I did that and I don't notice anything, is the guilt just a learned experience that just never felt right? Doesn't feel like there's any wisdom in the guilt. Feels I've just learned how to punish myself. So we can really just approach at that level and then make the changes that we need to. And not always are all of our emotions consciously chosen. Sometimes they're unconsciously chosen by the universe to help us grow, like in avoidance and denial, in that example I gave, or other times they're from our past memory in which we learned those emotions and we're just recalling them from our memory. Okay. Does that help? Do you have a follow-up question?
It is. I do. Why do we meditate? I mean, for happiness, yes, but why? Are we pre-paving our everyday, our next day, or are we setting out parameters for our day, or what?
Well, there's so many different types of meditation. For myself, it's always been trying to cultivate a specific quality and have that quality grow in every moment. So for me, meditation was a time to be the silent, open space of awareness, to have a time with no thoughts, with no human conditioning coming up, to have a time when I'm very full in my presence. I'm very aware, but I'm also very silent. So for me, I was practicing, like every meditation was a practice to develop this quality. And I wanted this quality to grow and be part of every moment of my life. That's why I meditated. Other people might have different reasons. Some people meditate as a stress relief. So at the end of the day, it empties out anything that they're holding on to in their psyche. Some people like to meditate first thing in the morning because it gives them clarity and it helps to set the beginning of the day with a good energy. Some people meditate because they read somewhere that meditate helps the brain or it helps lengthen someone's life. So there's some human beings who have a really happy life. They love the life they're living and they want to live as long as they can because they love their physical life. And so they meditate because they read somewhere the scientific data shows that it lengthens your life. So meditation's a tool, just like physical exercise is a tool. And there can be different reasons why we do these practices. So you can go to the gym, for example, and you can lift weights. Some people will do it to stay younger longer. Some people do it for beautiful reasons, to be more attractive when they look at themselves in the mirror or when other people look at them. Some people lift weights for athletic reasons so they can compete at a higher level. And some people lift weights just because they like the challenge of it. Some people lift weights because they feel better the next day after they've used their body that way. It's the same thing. It's meditation or it's lifting weights in this example, but people use it for different benefits. Meditation gives many, many benefits, spiritual ones, physical ones, emotional ones, psychological ones, just like lifting weights gives many benefits. We have to look at ourselves and say, why do I feel guided towards it? Now, for myself, I first used meditation because I wanted to experience what was beyond the physical reality. That was the first desire for me, right? I'm 18 years old. I learned there's other dimensions and I really wanted to experience it. And the best teachings I had found at the time told me you have to silence your mind. So on that first day, I learned how to silence my mind. I found a meditation book and I started practicing it. As I evolved, my understanding became different. It wasn't just about going to another dimension, going to non-physical reality. It became about having a silent experience in every moment, an inner silence in every moment. And then it became to having a more integrated consciousness with everything. So even my own progression grew based upon why I was using this tool. Right? Meditation is a tool, it has many benefits. Do you have a follow-up question?
In your videos, do you have the ones that learn where I can learn to quiet the mind and this sounds crazy, but quiet the eyeballs?
Yeah. Yeah. So the eyes often move with our thoughts or our mental energy. There's been studies done in psychology and like neuropsychology that looks at the nervous system, and the eyes are nerves essentially that look out of reach the surface of the body. And so the eyes look in different locations when they're doing different functions. So if you would ask a person to remember something, they often look in a certain part of their eyes, right? If you'd ask a person to compute mathematics, right, they'll often look in a certain part of their eyes. So the location moves around like different coordinates, like a compass, based upon the function that the brain is performing. And so the nerve of the eyes, it does go into the brain, the ocular nerve, and they see that, yeah, the types of thought we have are connected to the body's movements, the eyes ball movements. As we silence the mind from any type of activity where it's not thinking about the past, trying to problem solve, imagining things, the eyes just stay still. Sometimes currents of energy increase in the body, so the eyes might look up. That's a natural experience that can happen. Other times we are purposefully instructed to hold the eyes in a certain gaze, such as looking down at the ground at a 45-degree angle. That's very useful in meditation, looking down at the ground at a 45-degree angle, because it allows the mind to quiet down more. So as thought activity reduces, the eyes do become more still. As the mind thinks in different ways, the eyes will look to different locations based upon what we're thinking about. So those are very natural. My experience is I never tried to hold my eyes. I learned when I did Zen meditation to stare at a wall. So I would sit a few feet from my bedroom wall and I would drop my eyes down at about 45 degrees towards the ground. And you let your eyeballs just relax in a natural rested position while staying open. And you just pick a spot on the wall and keep your gaze fixed there without concentrating your eyes so that it causes stress. And so that's how I learned to first meditate using Zen. So it was like a relaxed focus or a relaxed positioning of the eyes. It wasn't a resistant position to movement. If my mind would wander, yeah, my eyes would lose their focus. So I just bring it back to that point of focus. And I practice training myself how to stay focused on one thing, keep my eyes in one position, and exist without thoughts. It's very much an exercise. Meditation's a tool, it's an exercise. And like any exercise, the more you perform it, the more skill you develop with it. So the byproduct of meditation is a concentration for your mind, so it doesn't wander. I do have different teachings that talk about meditation. There's one video that comes to mind, and the title of it is How the Higher Self Wants You to Meditate. So I worked with a client many years ago, maybe 10 years ago, and he asked me a similar question to what you were asking me, and I channeled for over an hour, I think, this answer that really broke down a structured process of meditation. And it talked about if your mind's real busy, then you should start here. And then as you quiet your mind, the meditation technique evolves. So in the beginning, you're controlling your breath more. And at the end, it's completely effortless. And you go on this progression from more effort to less effort and more form to less form. So there's more empty awareness at the end. And it talks through this whole sequence and how to identify when it's time to adjust your practice. So that's one. I also teach something called the inner circle, which you already know about. And we have done different inner circles. One was called Mind Mastery, and I did that about, I think it was in fall of last year. And so for Mind Mastery, you learn how to quiet your mind. Layer by layer, you learn how to quiet your mind. And this helps us to create that inner silence. It helps us to expand our perception. So in the Mind Mastery inner circle, that was very valuable because there's 13 lessons in the inner circle stretched over 3 months. And something like the first 9 lessons were all about deepening that state of inner silence. And then the last 4 lessons or so were how to take that developed state and now connect it into channeling energy and psychic vision and remote viewing and other things like that. So we really have to know how to cultivate that depth of silence to then awaken non-physical perception. And the purpose of meditation is really just that depth of silence. Once we have that, then we can jump off into all these other different experiences, and they will happen rather easily because we've created that foundation of having a silent mind. Yeah, so think of it like a skill. It's more difficult to have a silent mind if we have a lot of emotional trauma from our life. So basically, if you learned in your psyche that the world is a threatening place, especially if you grew up in a family that had violence or different forms of emotional or psychological abuse, then you believe in a deep part of your mind that the world's threatening and you can't just relax in the present moment. Like, how could you relax if you don't know if you're going to get beaten in your household when you're 5 years old, or you don't know if something bad's going to happen to you, or you live in a violent neighborhood, perhaps? Like, how can you relax if you're under a threat? So sometimes we have trauma and it creates like a post-traumatic stress effect. And it's very commonly accepted that everyone has a real busy mind, but when we investigate it, yeah, there's these underlying patterns of stress because we don't feel safe. Because in our life, we learned, I can't relax. I have to be able to think and act and do. Sometimes it's just social pressure as well. Like I have to always keep busy. Like I learned that it's not safe to not be busy, because when I stopped being busy, I got punished by my parents. They would criticize me, they'd punish me emotionally if I wasn't always working on something progressive. So maybe it's difficult to relax because I think I can't stop working. This is a waste of time. It's a threat in some way to my family or my parents or society. So if we give ourselves permission to relax and we understand that meditation is highly progressive, and we understand why it gives us progress, then oftentimes meditation is not categorized in that threatening category. We're growing, we're learning, we're supporting ourselves, we're becoming wiser, we're becoming more mature, we're developing self-confidence and self-knowledge, we're creating self-love. If we realize that meditation gives us all these amazing benefits and we know it intellectually, that helps to soften any subconscious resistance to meditation. So sometimes people think they should meditate, but they don't know why. They don't know how it's going to help them or what benefits they're going to get. I really recommend you learn about all the benefits. And I think I've just rattled off a really long list of maybe most of the benefits that we can find with meditation. If we understand it intellectually, then we can cooperate with it and not have guilt, shame, doubt, fear, not bring up these traumas or these rejection ideas from our past. And meditation benefits every part of us, basically, from the physical nervous system to our emotional relationship with ourselves and other people, because we're more patient, peaceful, compassionate, loving, kind, caring. And then it also develops our psychological relationship with ourselves. We have more inner clarity. We understand ourselves more. We have a foundation of peace. We feel more connected. And then also spiritual and non-physical things. And we evolve our perception to know non-physical reality, to move ourselves up into these like heavenly states or higher dimensions. So there's countless benefits, and just intellectually understanding them allows us to cooperate more with meditation, and then we can practice it better.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much. Lots of love and gratitude. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Yeah, thank you.
I've enjoyed all these. I've missed some of them because I don't know how I missed them, but I have. But thank you so much.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And we'll have all these awareness ascending videos available. And then also, I've been doing the YouTube videos for like 17 years or so. So there's like a few thousand of them up there. But the one, how the higher self wants you to meditate, that one I specifically remember. And then if you go to my website and even just type in meditation, then you can find, there's a web page that I wrote about meditation. There's one called like 4 types of meditation, or the types of meditation. And that's an article, and it has some links to some videos. And there's another one maybe called Why We Should Meditate. Yes, if you type in meditate or meditation in the search on my website, you'll find lots of different videos and articles as well. And that'll give you, some more information to help you.
Thank you very much. I will be doing that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, does someone else have a question? You can raise your hand. We'll give it a few more seconds, see if anybody has a question. Okay, doesn't look like there's any more questions. So we'll close it up. So I'd like to thank everybody for embarking on this entire journey of the Awareness Ascending program. I hope everyone enjoyed the information that I brought through over these last 6 months. I also hope that you enjoyed all the different offerings that Jonathan Rickert, the founder of Awareness Ascending, has offered to you all. I know some of the presenters personally. I've had shared conversations with some of the presenters, and I enjoyed them, and I hope that they offered you some value as well. And lastly, I'd like to thank Jonathan myself personally for all that he's done to provide this platform for all of us to have an audience, to share our own knowledge and to share some parts of ourselves that are unique. So thank you, Jonathan, for putting this all together. I know it's a lot of work. For 20 years almost, I've been doing my own videos, and I know it's a full-time job. And so I really appreciate all the time, care, and dedication that you've offered to making this happen. I'm very, very grateful for you. So thank you, and appreciate it. And I hope that everything that you continue to do on your life journey gives you success and happiness for yourself and also for your family. And so thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, everyone, for attending. I hope you have a beautiful night, and I look forward to continuing this human journey with you all. Okay, take care and good evening.